What do you need to start writing a book? Do you just grab a pen, a piece of paper, and start writing? Maybe you could do that, but it's probably a good idea to have a little bit planned out beforehand. So let's talk about that. The people at Reedsy were kind enough to give me their How to Write a Novel course, which pushed me to finally try to finish a draft instead of abandoning it, starting new projects. So yeah, now I have to write. What do you need to start writing? You need a concept, something you want to write about. And that's probably also going to define the genre you want to write in. Maybe you had a cool idea for a fantasy world or a cute love story. It could be anything as long as you're able to mold it into a story. The idea will probably come as one of the three pillars of storytelling: character, plot, or setting. And for the book I'm writing right now, it's the setting, so let's start there. Setting is the combination of place and time, the when and the where. It could be just a real city in the modern time, but it could also be a futuristic spaceship that you have to build from scratch. It really depends on your idea and the genre you're writing for. There is a possibility that this step is going to be the most laborious because it might take a lot of research and word building. So if you're writing a fantasy city that's inspired in 18th century Paris, it's probably a good idea to study to see how things worked back there to give you a base to build your city upon. So yeah, research and also world building. If there's magic in your world, you have to think how that affects everything: society, the geography, the history, everything. I'm going to warn you, if you're writing fantasy, you'll spend a lot of time in here trying to determine your setting. But to start off, before you start writing, do you have to have everything determined? No, or else you'd be at risk of falling into the rabbit hole of word building where you'll be word building forever and you'll never start writing. So try to determine the bare minimum you need to start writing, and then you can determine the details afterwards. And remember, you can always go back and edit. So just start writing, build a base, and then just start writing. So for the book I'm writing for this course, what was the concept? First, I knew I wanted to write something involving spellcasters. At first, that's all I knew. It's a type of fantasy that I never thought about writing, so that's where I started. And then I started expanding on the idea. They cast spells, alright, but where do they get the magic from? What kinds of spells are there? Who can use the magic? Are people born with it? Can they learn it? And by asking myself those questions, this is what I came up with. The magic in this world is directly connected to the religion. The gods lend you their powers so you can cast spells. But again, let's expand. How do they do that? In this world, there are 4 gods, each one granting you different spells, and each one of them has a fountain of their essence. If you dip an object in a fountain, it will become blessed and you'll be able to cast spells with it. And each object can only carry the power of one god at a time. But you can carry multiple objects at the same time, so you can use any spell you need. There's also another option. You can, instead of dipping an object, you can dip your hands in the water. And if you do that, you won't need blessed items to cast spells. Anything will do. But if you do that, you'll only be able to cast the spells from that god. And even if you try to use an object from another god, you won't be able to use their power. I imagine this being reversible, like you can use the power and then give it back. What is not reversible, however, is if you get baptized, that is, you get your whole body submerged in the water. And if you do that, you'll kind of become one with the god in a way, and then you are their avatar for life, and there's nothing you can do about it. So it's a big commitment. So yeah, synthesizing, that's how the magic system works. But how does that affect the society? Can anyone just go to the fountain and get the powers? No. Temples were built around the fountains. People can enter to pray, but they can't touch the water. Only certain people have the access to do that. That's the clergy. And to become part of the clergy, you have to study a lot and you have to graduate in their little institution. And do you see where I'm going with this? Magic school Setting. Love that. If you don't want to go through that, regular people can still get access to blessed objects. They can buy them from certified vendors or probably an underground market too. So yeah, it depends on what you want. If you only want a wand that can set things on fire, you can just buy it. The setting is the thing that I have thought the most about, and I won't be able to tell everything right now or else this video will be an hour long. So let's stop right here. I'll talk more about it in a future video. And let's go to the next pillar. After coming up with this concept and this world, the idea for the plot and the character came together at once. So let's talk about plot. But beforehand, let me talk a little about the Reedsy Course, as it has been immensely helpful in my writing. It's called How to Write a Novel, and it's taught by Tom Bromley, who has worked in publishing in almost 25 years as an author, as an editor, as a ghostwriter, and more. So he knows what he's talking about. And basically, the course incentivizes you to write your book during the 3 months of the course. And they do that by providing you with daily video lessons totaling 101 lessons, covering pretty much everything you need to know about writing, from how to start a novel to how to make interesting characters to how to edit your book. The lessons are very thorough, very easy to understand, and you're also provided with exercises to help you in every step of the way. And as someone who has been studying writing since I was very young, I have to say, I really like this course. I really like how it's structured. They are able to explain complex topics in a very digestible way. It's genuinely very good. And you'll get more than only the lessons. You'll have an access to a writing community with the other people who are taking the course, where you can talk to the other writers, you can hold each other accountable, and there are weekly feedback sections. And there's even more. If that's something you're interested in, you can find more information in the link in the description. There's a summary of everything the course covers, so go give it a look. And thank you, Reedsy, for this amazing opportunity. Now, let's talk about the plot. Plot. This is where people's methods diverge the most. Some people like to plan everything, and some people like to plan nothing at all, as they believe the act of planning stifles their creativity. So it's a spectrum. Maybe you like to plan just a little. Maybe you like to plan a lot, but give yourself a little wiggle room. So you have to find out what works best for you specifically. Me, I'm very much a planner. I like to know everything is going to happen so I can set up every event properly from the start instead of having to do that during editing. But just a reminder, it doesn't matter how much you planned, you will still have to edit a lot. So keep that in mind. So yeah, what does the planning look like when we're talking about plot? Authors generally do what we call outlining, which can be done in multiple different ways, but basically it's a list of what you want to happen in your story. And the level of detail on that depends on you. Some people like to describe every scene thoroughly, while others like to just lay out general ideas of what they want to happen. My advice, which maybe is controversial, is to at least have an idea of where you want your story to end. Not everything, just a direction, so that you're not completely lost during the writing process. And let's say you know how it ends. You have point A and point B, and your character has to get from point A to point B, but you don't know what happens in the way. I have a little tip for you. If you're struggling to come up with ideas, think of your novel as if it was a TV show with episodes. Think about your favorite TV shows. What are your favorite episodes? Maybe there's a beach episode you like. Maybe there's this episode they make a party. Think about those things. Think about what would be fun to do in your story. Write those ideas down, and then find a way of connecting them. Let's say there's this festival you want your characters to go to, so you find a plot reason to bring them there. Let's say there are rumors the main villain is going to be there, so they go to investigate, and then shenanigans happen, because they always do. So I'm not telling you to treat your novel as if it was SpongeBob, where every episode is something completely different, but just find these events you want to happen and connect them. That helped me a lot. So for my story, I did it in a very unconventional way when talking about the way I do things, because normally I have the idea for the character and then I come up with a plot that makes sense for them. But this time, the plot and the character came together, but the plot mainly. So I won't go into too much detail here because I want to publish this story and I don't want to spoil all of it. Basically, one of the gods grants access to spells that are considered extremely dangerous. So the access to their fountain is extremely limited. You'd have to dedicate your whole life to the temple, and make a bunch of O's, and then you can touch it. So very little people get there. But one day, somehow, the protagonist gets baptized with that god's powers in a fountain that's not the main fountain, which nobody knew could exist, but it does. And then everyone is very confused on what happened. This is the coolest part, but I'm not going to share because I don't want to spoil it. But yeah, the story will follow her as she tries to hide the fact that now she's baptized and has the access to these very dangerous spells. And that's all I'm going to say for now. Maybe in the next video I'll talk a bit more. I don't know. But now let's talk about the last pillar, and in my opinion the most important: character. I believe the characters are the soul of your story. If I don't care about your characters, I won't care about anything else. And if I like your characters, I won't care if there isn't a plot. But yeah, that doesn't apply to everyone anyway. I have a whole video talking about how to make more complex characters. If you're interested, go check it out. And if you're out of ideas for characters, check out the shorts tab in my channel. That's all I do, give characters ideas every day for months now, so check it out too. So yeah, you need to know who your protagonist is. Who is the story about? Maybe the first answer you have is not the right one. Maybe it's not about the chosen one. Maybe it's about their best friend and how they deal with their friend being taken away from them. Look at the story and look at who can tell the most interesting story. In reality, it's very hard to talk about character and plot separately, because if you're doing things right, your character is what's going to dictate the whole story. Their goals, their fears, their personality, their backstory, everything is going to inform the narrative. So for my story, because the plot kind of came before the character, I've been struggling with the protagonist. Characters normally come very naturally to me, but because I have this narrative I have to stick to, I feel very stifled. It's a struggle. But for now, this is the protagonist. Her name is Placeholder for now, and I'll talk more about her when I develop her better. And for now, that's it. There are going to be more videos soon where I'll expand on the story and hopefully the characters, and I hope you're here for it. Check out Reedsy Course, leave a like if you enjoyed this video, subscribe, and that's it. Bye!